Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 234B of Tales with TR. Let's get right into it. My next guest is a singer-songwriter from my hometown, beautiful Mount Pearl, Newfoundland, who first hit the local music scene in 2011 with the release of his first album called Let It Rest, which he produced himself. And ever since, he's been rocking and rolling and evolving, much to the delight of his local fan base and his fan base just about everywhere. This guy's making it big. Folks, this month, you can see him play his annual Tibbs Eve show at the Rock House or playing locally and showcasing his brand new album, Long Way to Go, which is awesome, by the way. Just go to davewhitty.com for more details. He is a great guy, a noble Newfoundlander, a marvelous musician, a fine friend, an amazing artist, a super songwriter. He's with the band and he's from Newfoundland. He's a handsome thing and can really sing. His hair is brown and he's from my hometown. He's a big Leafs fan. He plays the guitar, man. He keeps the beat down on George Street. He knows three guys named Kyle, and he has really good style. Folks, he's great on guitar, and his voice is pretty. Welcome to the show. It's my buddy, Dave Whitty. Dave, how the hell are you doing?
I'm doing good, Terry. Thank you so much. I've been waiting for that intro. I mean, it's well worth coming on the pod just for that intro. Thank you so much for that. Beautifully written, by the way.
Over the years, thank you. Well, speaking of a songwriter, I'm writing little shanties and funny little poems about guests, and you actually really, because I don't know, every time I say it I'm drunk. It's like, I love you, man. I love you, man. Do love your stuff, and we've been talking about this for years, and I always forget. Now, Friday night, or was it Saturday, we had a night not unlike many others we've been out, but this time I'm glad that this came to fruition. How are you doing, and how's the vibe around your new album?
I'm doing well. Yeah, the weekend was great, obviously. Had a couple gigs. Actually, I was just after leaving good friend Andrew Rogers, another great musician here in the band, Farragale. Yeah, I just left his. Yeah, he put out a solo record, actually, and he put it released it just a couple weeks ago, and he had a big album party release at the Kitty Vitty Brewery. You know, great location, and I opened up the show and had a great night down there. And then ran into you down on George Street, and that's how the night kind of went. But yeah, the vibe has been good about the album. Really excited to get this thing out there. It's my fourth studio record, and it's been a fun ride so far. Definitely with this new one.
You can really tell. So listen, and really, I think you're a hell of a singer-songwriter, a hell of a songwriter. Lots of people are good singers, but you have a unique way with the guitar, which we'll get into. But that first album, Let It Rest, 2011, and you produced that on your own. Where'd you record that?
I recorded that with Rich Sepka. I'm not sure if you know who Rich is, but he's a local guy. He plays in a band. It's slipping my mind right now, but he's been kind of throughout a couple bands throughout the years. But I ran into him at a party, and I was really wanting to get some of my music recorded. I'd never recorded anything solo before, and he said, I got a little studio kind of set up at my house. He said, come over, we'll record some songs. So that was kind of the bare bones. That was the first time I ever actually recorded any of my solo music, but it was a great little project to kind of get my feet wet. It was the first time really trying to produce songs other than just playing them with an acoustic guitar or having a backing band. But it was really thinking about how the production sounds, how it's going to sound forever. And he actually made a very good point. He said, at the time, I was so used to just performing acoustically and hearing my songs with just me and a guitar, and I wanted to record them that way. He said, man, you got to put a little bit more into them. He said, because these songs last forever. Once you put them out there, they last forever. He said, you want to really think about what goes into them. What can we add to really fluff up these songs? So that was a really cool intro to kind of starting that. So, I had my hands all over that. It was six songs I had wrote, basically as a teenager that I thought they were the six best that I wanted to record. But once again, it was a great kind of starting point of my my recording career.
Now, you grew up in Mount Pearl, a little bit younger than me, but I knew you were always on the scene. We had the same friends. But how did you get into music? Mount Pearl is really put out athletes, musicians, actors. I mean, I'm not downplaying where we're from. And for those that don't know, it's a suburb of St. John's. I don't know. I'm guessing 40,000, maybe slightly more, no more than that. And it's a small town, but we're right there in St. John's. I mean, we're talking about George Street. It's like a 10-minute, 12-minute drive. It's right there. But yeah, if you're going to go to school in here and everything, I don't know that they offer the same things that say Holy Heart would in St. John's. Or how did you get into the arts scene? And you're a huge Leafs fan, so you're into sports as well. Take me into that growing up, like where you and I actually know, you were raised a large part. I believe your stepdad was Fox Fagan, again another local legend who's into hockey. So where did the music stuff come from?
Well, I'll be honest. So my parents split up when I was young, and both my mom and my dad still live in Mount Pearl. Actually, my dad lives pretty close to you, actually, just down off Park Avenue.
Oh,
But
right.
but my mom was musical when I was growing up. She always had a guitar around. I remember playing at the cat, her playing at the cabin when I was really really young. And of course, when my mom met Fox, I was in grade 5 or grade 6, and he really brought sports into our family because it wasn't really
Yeah.
huge up until then. Um, and pretty much then I started playing hockey. I was playing basketball because my older brothers played basketball growing up. They played for the Patriots, O'Donnell Patriots, and
Yeah, that was a big thing, man. If you're going to go watch a basketball game in Mount Pearl, it was, always go to see O'Donnell or Senior High. It was a bit of a rivalry. I loved it.
Well, it was fun, back then. I mean, Sean Courtney was coaching, Roger Walsh and Neil Barron, Andrew Cameron. These guys were great basketball players, and there was some real rivalries in basketball. So I was kind of following in my brother's footsteps there, playing a little basketball, and then kind of when Fox became a part of my life, hockey became a part of my life, which was a huge thing. I mean, and Fox, if you knew Fox at all, God rest his soul, he's gone a number of years now, but
Yeah.
he was an absolute diehard Leafs fan. This man
Yeah, man.
lived and died for the Leafs. So basically, in my house, it was either you watch the Leafs or you go to bed out of it. That's it. There
And
was,
and he'd always want to talk about it. There's some
yes,
hockey fans that are just casual well, even some fanatics would, but they'll get their popcorn or their beer or whatever, and they'll watch the game. But Fox was always talking about it. I run into him, and it was like just an automatic update on how the Leafs are doing. I mean, I knew his son Sean, we also call Fox, really well. But over the years, especially, I mean, he was a bit of a rink rat as a coach and everything too, right? I see. So, and then you got
So I'll tell you what kind of happened with when it comes to music was funny
yeah,
was that I was about 14 years old, and as any 14-year-old would do, especially growing up in Mount Pearl, I got busted for drinking. This is a true story. I got
where were you
busted.
guys drinking out in the woods behind the old tin can?
Exactly. We're drinking in a cubby. We're drinking in a cubby. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
we used
And
to drink there too. Yeah.
I actually came home and you're a kid, and I left a little bottle of liquor in my pocket. Anyways, my mom ended up finding it the next day or whatever it was, 13, 14 years old. And classic, like, you're grounded, right? You're not allowed out of the house for 2 weeks, and you're not allowed to watch TV and no video games. And she had a guitar there. And I just said, I always loved music. I was a huge music fan, and I was a big writer. I was always writing. I never played an instrument, but since I could, I was always writing words. I loved articulating words, and I loved
Jeez, yeah.
rhyming words. It was
I
one of
know
my
exactly.
favorite things to
Identify.
do.
Yeah.
So I picked up a guitar. I said, it can't be
When
rocket
you wait,
science.
sorry, wait. When you say writing words towards with a means to an end, when I'm not a fucking trying to put myself on your level as a songwriter. I just mean, for me, there was like I writing words to me meant, like, sometimes it could be a short story, sometimes a poem, sometimes I just jot down what I did that day. I don't know. Sometimes out of boredom to cure anxiety. There was no social media. I don't really know. But were you writing songs before
I would
you knew how to play the guitar?
I was writing everything. I would write
Wow.
shorts, like
Okay.
just like you said. I would write short stories. I would write long stories. I would write poetry. I would write hip hop. I would write, I would, a lot of times what I would do is I would take old Newfoundland folk songs and I would rejig lyrics to their melodies. So I would try to write songs. This is before I even thought of ever playing an instrument. I just loved being
Yeah.
able to rhyme words. I always thought it was a cool thing to be able to, for wordplay. I was a big fan on wordplay.
Yeah.
And then when I once again I got grounded there, so I ended up picking up my mom's guitar, and she had a chord book in there, and I learned four chords, and I was grounded for 2 weeks. By the time I was finished being grounded, I had my first song wrote, and I was so
No.
big on. I never
No.
learned anybody else's music for probably 5 years when I was playing guitar. I was so keen on writing. All I wanted to do was make my own. I didn't care about learning anybody else's songs. All I wanted to do was write. And I'd say in the first 5 years of playing the guitar, I wrote 200 songs. I would just be pumping out songs. I wish I could do that now. It's funny how times kind of change. Maybe you're in your head a bit more. You think about it more. But as a kid, I would just absolutely pump out songs. I mean, it could have been about anything. And one thing I really loved to do as a kid, I'd always write like kind of funny songs. Like we'd always take a character from Mount Pearl. Like, I mean, I must have 10 songs about different characters from Mount Pearl that I wrote songs about. You know, I'll throw this one out there. Matt Duggan. I'm sure you know. You probably know Matt's brother Mike. We called him Party Lunch. I had a song called. People still ask for it. I wrote this song when I was 16 years old called Party Lunch, and it was all about Matt and how he would never share weed with anybody else, and he would just show up to parties. He would never drink. He would always show up with a little party lunch. And what we always described a party lunch was. You know, back in your elementary school days when you had a movie or something like that, your teacher would say, yeah, come on in now. We're having a movie day. Bring in your party lunch. So you bring in your bag of chips, you bring in your Pepsi, you bring in your bar. And Duggan would always show up to these parties with his party lunch. He would never have any beer and he wouldn't share any weed with anyone. So I wrote a song about him called Party Lunch. Like enough said, right? There we go. Exactly. So yeah, it was like, that was what I started to do. I started to write songs about people. And it's obviously transitioned since then. I still am always making a bit of fun at people, and I always kind of found that humorous. But that was a big thing that kind of got me started. Was I was like, you know what? I can write songs, and I can also make people laugh. Like I'm like, this is a pretty cool thing. And I also at the same time, it was when I was growing up, when I was in the 90s. This was right when Great Big Sea was taken off. The Irish Descendants were taken off. The Fables were taken off. All these Newfoundland bands that I could go see were starting to gain notoriety on a national stage. The Irish Descendants had won a Juno. Great Big Sea were touring all over the world. I said, man, I can do that. I have that in me. I can write songs. I'm a decent guitar player. You know, at the time, I feel like I've evolved so much more on a guitar. But at the time, I said, it was achievable. Yes,
like
it was very achievable.
That was achieved. This isn't out to lunch. I write songs, and you must have had a sense that you like writing more than a lot of other people. I mean, all these times you might say parodies and fun little songs, but you're learning your craft. You're practicing. I think, you know, I love the Beatles. McCartney had scrambled eggs turned into yesterday. Like, you know, you're learning your craft, right? So I don't take that lightly. And it sounds to me like a really formidable goal. And the other thing, I'm a little bit older, so I used to see that some of those that album Out of the Fog I think it's called Out of the Fog by Wonderful Grand Band. I just loved it. And they were so good. And Ron Hines, like critically, was acclaimed everywhere, but he wasn't getting the kind of notoriety that right after that Great Big Sea and the Irish Descendants started to get. And even bands like Crush, who came and you know they're still play here and there, but they're great and they're good producers, and you know you could start to see an evolution in Newfoundland, and it wasn't just the Irish stuff. And then some people had a foot in both genres, much like yourself. So who would have been your biggest influences here in Newfoundland, and I guess beyond?
I mean, well, you just said one. I mean, Ron Hines is literally my songwriting hero. I mean, I could sit here and talk to you all day about Ron Hines. And
for those that don't know, he's from Newfoundland. He's a legend. His biggest one worldwide would be Sonny's Dream. But this guy's deep. He's wonderful. And please check out his music. Sorry, I had to say that in case I forgot. Go ahead.
No, absolutely. And it needs to be said. I mean, I think that Ron's contributions to Newfoundland music, I mean, outweigh so many people. What I always found interesting about Ron and what I always loved about Ron's music is that Ron could take, simple melodies, but write really infectious songs and really, really pull on the heartstrings of not only Newfoundlanders, but, you know, any Canadian, I think, especially, right? I mean, you know, some fun facts about Ron Hines that I found so interesting. Ron Hines had Sonny's Dream. Like, I don't know if you've ever been to Ireland. You go to Ireland and you go to a pub, you hear people singing Sonny's Dream. They think it's an Irish song.
One of the most covered songs worldwide is from Canada. I've read that, yeah. I heard an interview with Ron Sexsmith, and he's a big time singer songwriter, and he spoke about Ron Hines like he was a god. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, yeah, Christy Moore. I mean, one of the biggest Irish folk singers on the planet Earth has covered Sonny's Dream. I mean, but what I always found interesting about Ron is like you had mentioned, when the Wonderful Grand Band was starting to take off, they were touring all over Canada and in the US and all that stuff. But you could still go see Ron at the Ship for like $5 on a Thursday evening.
Unbelievable. I say to people, and you know how many times I used to take them, or I took my buddies more than one. I used to play at Rose and Thistle, like on a Tuesday, and you'd honestly $5-10. This was like not that long ago. I mean, he passed away. What? I mean,
I think it was 8 or 9 years ago now. Probably.
9, I was going to say 5, 8 or 9 now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like right before that. Like, and this is a legend that would like the next night, sell out. I don't know wherever it would be. I would see him on the road in Halifax or the Arts and Culture Center, the Odd Time Mile 1, whatever. And he would go down there and you'd see him. And I mean, his stories, and for those, again, it's such a deep catalog. You're listening to me. You know what I like? My favorite is probably Crier's Paradise. Check it out.
Man.
There's too many. I'm just giving some people a reference point because there's just so many songs. But that is a great answer. And so you were really, really into your craft then, because this guy, your hero is I don't want to put down a lot of bands that put their everything into their performance but this guy was just, I mean, some would consider him a genius. So you're a fan is one thing. Did you look into like how he would play and write his songs?
Terry, I still do. I still am learning. This man's been passed away and hasn't released music in maybe 12 years or so. I'm still listening to his songs and picking up things going, wow, how did he do that? That is so clever. So clever, right? Let me tell you a quick story before we get through on Ron. I've told this story countless amount of times on my podcast and on the internet, and I've made posts about it. But the night Ron passed away, it was in November. Okay, I was doing a gig on George Street. I was playing at Greensleeves Pub. It was a Monday night, I believe. I was doing like a 7 to 10 or 7 to 11. And I'm performing. I'm it's kind of a quieter night. It's November. It's St. John's. It's kind of rainy out, whatever it is. And I take a little break and, I just look at my phone. I see, a couple people are starting to post about Ron Hines has passed away. Damn, man. Oh my God. No, and for once again, for especially for your listeners who don't know the impact that Ron has had on our province, they put up a statue of the man on George Street before he passed away. He was still alive. They put up a statue of him.
I know. That's a great point. And
right?
It's such an important piece of real estate there that they got him in. And yeah, that was there while he was living, right? That's a key fucking point to all this. This wasn't like retiring a jersey because there was some unfortunate tragedy or, let's put a statue there. He deserves it. No,
they just said, let's honor him while he's still here. Let's honor him while he is still here. So he knows how much of an impact he's had, right? But anyways, I took a break. I looked at my phone. Oh my God, Ron Hines has passed away. A couple of people are posting on Facebook, whatever it may be. Anyways, I walk outside. I swear to God, I get chill. I have chills right now just thinking about this. I walk outside. Boom. Power goes out everywhere, only on George Street. Okay. This is a true story. Power goes out on George Street. I've never seen it happen before. So I walk up on Duckworth Street. There's power. Water Street. Power. For anybody who's listening, those are the two adjacent streets to George Street. George Street's a little tiny street right in the middle of both of these streets.
Which is where, that's where the fun happens in St.
It's the entertainment hub, right? It's the entertainment hub.
District. Yeah, there's live music in literally every bar at points of the week and some nights or some bars, most, every night of the week. Always live music. And so for it to happen there that's real. And St. John's isn't as tiny as you think, man. There's 250,000 people here. Like, this is wild anyway.
So I'm standing outside of O'Reilly's pub, and I'm just looking in, and next thing I hear, whoever was on stage starts singing Sonny's Dream. And then I hear the whole audience is singing it. But there's no power. You got to remember, inside of these pubs, they're all black now. And the bar owners and the waitresses and bartenders are lighting a few candles, and they start singing Ron songs. I walk down, same thing's happening at Kelly's Pub. Same things happening at the Rob Roy. Same things happening at Brody Malloy's. All of these venues that Ron had performed at and had been at, and his songs had been sung by different entertainers over the years. they're all leading these a cappella versions with no power, just a candlelight to Ron songs. So I went back in Greensleeves, did the exact same thing. I started it up in there.
Absolutely beautiful. It was either the next night or whenever it was. I remember it was shortly after he passed, and I guess it was the Ice Caps. I guess I was down at a hockey game, but anyway, it came up, his picture, and everybody started cheering, and eventually stood up, and then they played his Sonny's Dream, and then people kept singing it as puck dropped. Of course, now and people kept singing it, and I just certain moments in my life, I got goosebumps, and I started crying. I looked around me. I was kind of embarrassed, you're crying, and I looked around, and everybody was. It was just a wild moment.
I mean, just a very cultural icon to Newfoundland. I mean, the biggest thing, and we can move on from Ron, obviously, but one of the biggest things that I've always taken out of Ron's music is that I wrote in a post about this after he had passed away. But Ron, he kind of gave me the courage to write songs about Newfoundland that weren't fiddly diddly. I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense, but they weren't Celtic rooted songs. He wrote folk songs and almost alternative country songs, I guess, in a weird way.
Yeah. Well, I think Crier's Paradise, the first time I heard that was on CMT, which was the country music channel.
Yeah.
Not to keep cutting in on what you're saying, but a lot of people that don't know our Newfoundland culture, I think, would classify him as country. Right?
Yeah. No, I agree. And I mean, between Ron, but another great influence of mine, obviously, is the mighty Great Big Sea and Alan Doyle. I mean, as a kid growing up, watching that band be able to move to the next level, and also bring their level of energy to a stage, and be so proud to be from Newfoundland. I mean, it was everything to me. It was all I wanted to do. From that moment, this is all, and it was all I feel like I was made to do. I mean, it's just been something that was kind of born into me, and I have really never ever looked back since.
It's a great time for us coming up, because the 90s, really, Newfoundland really, in a lot of, like, whether it's sports, we just got our, in 91 got the St. John's Maple Leafs. Now we're taking a bit more serious. Yeah, really, now we get to leave. It's not, I love senior hockey, but until then, I don't think anybody really thought that we'd actually get the farm team of one of the most historic franchises on earth. And we had it for, we don't have one now anyway. We'll get into that later, but we had that team for a long time. And at the same time, Great Big Sea is coming, and right after, and more, right after, then Republic of Doyle hit, and then Gujou won to go in with the Olympics of Brad Gujou curling ring, and it's like all these things were happening, which really put us into the spotlight. And like I said, in the 80s, we didn't have any Newfoundlanders in the NHL, and then all of a sudden, by 2005, it wasn't just me and Cleary and Druk and these high picks. There was guys like Brian Clough going in the 6th round and going, and Michael Ryder winning Stanley Cups, and Danny Cleary. It was just, to me, a magical time. If I didn't live through the 60s and 70s, I'm sure they were great. But a lot of, there's bands, like I said, the Wonderful Grand Band and Tommy Sexton and Greg Malone, and, and they, I think,
they paved the way, man. Honestly, they paved the way.
They really paved the way, right? Even if you watch Kids in the Hall, I'm like, these guys must have seen Codco.
Exactly.
Right? I really don't know, but I'd love to talk to one of them sometime about it. Listen, and speaking of songwriting, I don't know this. There's a couple of questions I had for you, and I don't want to not ask you. And I ramble and I go in a different direction. So you're writing these songs, like, they got to come from somewhere. So Seeing Red, for example, one of your new tunes that I really like. All I ever wanted was a friend for the day. You don't ever listen to the words I say. Is this a relationship? Does this, you don't tell me who, does this reside with you? Are these going back to deep times that maybe you were hurt in your teens? Or are you just living every day and you're inspired? And everybody can identify with something like that happens. Is it just inside you? Or are you going specific stuff here?
I mean, it always changes. Songs are always evolving. A fun thing that I did with this new album is I started to take, not necessarily with this song, but a lot of the songs on this new record, I started to take other people's experiences, people that I would hear stories from people, or I would be on the road, I'd be touring, or I'd be working on the show that I'm working on, and we'd be traveling, and I'd be taking conversations with people. And it goes back to always writing. I would always take notes of these things. If I'd hear something interesting, or somebody would tell me an interesting story, I go, man, that's a cool little line there. I just jotted it in my phone, which is great. Now you can just throw it in your phone, make a little note of it, whatever, and then it's something to kind of come back on. Seeing Red was one of those songs that it's a bit of a slightly personal, slightly a story that I kind of took from somebody else, but it's more or less about the relationship you try to have, not romantically. It's actually more about a personal friendship, with individual people that sometimes like, I'm sure you've had friends over the years who maybe be going through something, or maybe, I don't know, there's different things going on, but you're trying to give them everything you got. You're trying to be the best friend you can, or whatever it may be, and sometimes it just gets lost in the fog, I guess. And sometimes you just got to learn to kind of move on from those things. You got to be able to I don't want to say cut your losses, but realize that maybe the energy you're putting in is not the same energy you're getting back. So that was kind of where that song came from. And the Seeing Red was just about somebody getting mad at me when somebody starts seeing red. You know what I mean?
I like that tune. I like I didn't mean to cut you off there. I really like it. And it's the human condition. It speaks to a lot. Like that one, really, I won't say who, A, to respect their privacy, and B, because I don't want to give them the credit, but there's someone that falls in between. Is it a friend? Was it a star-crossed lover? I don't know, but it was something in between, and it just resonates with me.
I mean, that's the coolest thing about music, by the way, Terry. I mean, like, it's one of the coolest things I find is hearing somebody like yourself, or anybody for that matter, kind of dissect that song and then take something out of it for themselves. I mean, that is literally the epitome of music right there, right? When somebody can take something out of your song that might have nothing to do with what I wrote it about, and create their own narrative about what it is, and then use that in their brain. I mean, that's one of the coolest things when it comes to music. I mean, I do that all the time when it comes to other people's music. When I'm listening to songs, it brings you back to a place or a time, or you take something out of a lyric, and it's it becomes something that it probably wasn't written intended to be, kind of thing, right?
Definitely. Oh God, I do it all the time. I'm driving, and I love driving, especially when day is turning into night, and I got the tunes on. I don't know why. That's a comforting time for me, but I often listen to new albums. I just listened to the new Black Keys, by the way, yesterday. It's pretty good. But and songs will, even when I hear something that's clearly about something specific. Again, I'll go to the Beatles' Penny Lane. Now I know that's my daughter's name, but before that, I would really just, because I know they're writing about personal experiences growing up. Penny Lane was right there in Liverpool, and it's so simple, but it's so deep, because I would drive around, and it would bring up memories of growing up in Mount Pearl. And like you said, drinking behind the old tin can. That's the old hockey arena, for those that don't know. Heading down to McDonald's and then going out on the Pats, and going to the barber right across. The barber shaves another customer, and those things. And I clearly know that they're not writing about Mount Pearl, but they can go there. And then some love songs are vague, but like I said, it's the human condition, and I think most of us can identify. Is your biggest hit, we'll say, Lizzie?
100%, with like hands down. I mean, it's who did I see? Listen, I'll tell you, I remember seeing Kim Mitchell, at George Street Festival years ago, and he gets up, plays the first song, and the whole crowd is screaming at him, "Play Patio Lanterns! Play Patio Lanterns!" And he plays the second song, "Play Patio Lanterns!" Plays the third song, and they're screaming. And by the third song, he goes, "Guys, I promise you, I'm going to play the song. It's in the set list, right? Like, I'm not going to leave you hanging. I promise." This is what it's like sometimes when it comes to Lizzie. I mean, if I was to do, especially a band gig, if I got the band hired for a night and we're putting off our own show, or, like Tibbs Eve, for example. I mean, if I was to leave Lizzie off the set list, there would be outrage. there would be absolute. I don't even leave it for an encore anymore. I make sure I put it in towards the end of the set list because there would be absolute outrage if I didn't do it. I mean, it's been one of those funny songs for me that, listen, I wrote that song in about 10 minutes.
Okay, look, I didn't want to be ignorant. I'm your friend. That song seems so omnipresent in my mind. I was like, is this like, like Lukey's boat? It's just like, or whatever the word is, public domain, because like no one knows who wrote it. Is it traditional? Did someone else? I didn't know. I'm like, I assumed maybe you wrote it, but it's so omnipresent.
So I wrote that song.
Life. It's fucking nuts, man.
I wrote that song. I'm going to say it's probably about 23-ish, maybe 24-ish. So, 12, 13 years ago, roughly. And I'll tell you, just a funny, I tell the story all the time when I'm on stage.
Like I've known it for 30 years. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I was, actually, Charles Newman. Okay. Yep. Charles Newman, local, guy from Mount Pearl, we all grew up with, right? Charles Newman had a pop-up camper, a little, hard top pop-up camper that we used to take camping in the woods. And on my birthday, which is Labor Day weekend, my birthday, September 4th. So my birthday always falls on Labor Day weekend. We took this pop-up camper up into a gravel pit off of Roach's Line out Bay Roberts Way. And we set it up. And he said, when I was texting him before, I said, yeah, where are we going to go? What's the plan? He said, I'm bringing Lizzie up to the campground now. He said, I'll let you know when I'm up there. Okay. So we get up there. I'm like, I was thinking Lizzie's some girl he's dating, whatever it might be, whatever. We get up there. I'm like, who's Lizzie? He's like, oh, that's the camper. He had named the camper.
Wonder.
He had named the camper Lizzie.
In Lizzie. I was going, what is this? Is he fucking Lizzie? Like, what's happening?
So many people think the line is birthday loving Lizzie, like birthday loving Lizzie, but it's actually birthday love in Lizzie. And I'll tell you why, because in typical Newfoundland fashion, okay,
wow.
We're up in this gravel pit. I have a guitar on my back, and we're all singing songs, and it starts pouring, and it's almost like getting sleety, but it's September. It's not going to snow, but it was getting cold, and anyway, so 15 or 16 of us pile inside this little hardtop camper. I got a guitar, and I just start strumming these 3 chords because it's a very simple song. It's only 4 chords, very very simple song. Yeah. The chorus and the verses section are the exact same chordings. Nothing changes. There's no bridge section. It's not like a tricky song by any means.
Yeah.
But I started, and I said, and it was my birthday. So I'm birthday loving Lizzie, making my head feel dizzy. Birthday loving Lizzie, making my way. And then I said, everybody now. And we're all singing this for the whole night. So then after we left, the next day or the day after, whatever, I got back home, and I pick up my guitar, and I'm like, man, that was fun. What clicked to me was how quick people got it.
Even they just sing along, man. They sing along. The place is always going bonkers. Like I'm sure that some people sit there and go, you know what? What can I write that people sing along, and how can I make this? But this just happened organically.
Oh yeah, just literally drunk in a camper with 15 of my buddies on my birthday.
That's the feel that you get. I didn't understand the birthday love I thought you passed out in your girlfriend or something. I really did, and I've never asked you. For those that don't know, I've known Dave for years. I mean, we had a beer the other night. We did been 1,000 times. We're on movie sets together.
Yeah,
but I never asked you that. That is fucking wild.
So and then kind of what I did there, which is really funny, and I haven't told this story a whole lot, but what I actually did, there's 6 verses of that song, okay? And each verse, I took a little story of previous relationships that I had been in to try to create this song. The first verse is actually, this is hilarious, but I took this out of a girlfriend I remember in grade 4. If you listen to the first line, it says, I got you a porcelain cat. You instantly gave it right back. I got you a porcelain cat. I stole it from my mom's house. That's true story. My grade 4 girlfriend, I took this porcelain cat. It was her birthday from my mom's house, and I gave it to her right before class started in grade 4. And by noon, she gave it back to me and broke up.
Wow.
So every little verse has like a previous kind of relationship or fling or whatever it may be. But I mean, that song has really, really helped me throughout my career. I mean, not only do people love when I sing it, a really, really cool thing that has started to happen is it's one of those songs that has started to catch on in St. John's, especially. I see It's very uncommon for me to go out on a Friday or Saturday night and not hear somebody else singing that song on stage. Nick Earl always covering that song. I mean, Derek Graham always covering that song. There's a bunch of musicians who are always covering that. Fairgale they recorded a rocked up for it, completely changed it, did this real rocked up indie rock version of it. I mean,
I didn't know they did it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool how it's kind of evolved like that. So it's been a huge help for my career. People have loved it. Honestly, it's been a really a fun thing. And I know a lot of people always say, "Oh, is it annoying that people are always so?" And they always want. I mean, it's the biggest privilege of my life to be asked on a stage and hounded to sing a song that I wrote.
And it's a nice starting point. Like, I don't know. It's a nice starting point that you can direct people at, because I think a lot of people will like that song and the beat, and then you can kind of get into Dave Whitty from there, because you've got some real poignant songs, some very deep and some catchy like that. But I mean, if there was some music critic that came here and sat down and said, "Okay, show me about this guy Dave Whitty," it wouldn't be the first song that I played them. But if there was an alien from another planet that came and just needed to hear a beat and just be impressed by music, I would say start there, and then we can get into the lyrics. I mean,
it's definitely been the one that's kind of it definitely kind of shows me as what I am the most, because it's a little cheeky. It's like, you get a little laugh out of it. It's also a little confusing. You don't overly know what it's about. It's catchy. It's easy to sing along with. It's simple melody, simple chordings. There's nothing real too crazy about it. But the production of it, there's an accord. The accordion is the song, which is a very Newfoundland East Coast kind of sounding instrument. Is what kind of set that up there.
You've got a song, Where I Belong. You've got St. John's. You've got Going Home. You're never too far from hearing, when you listen to one of your albums, from hearing either about your upbringing or your setting, your right here now in St. John's, the past, present, or future. You're longing to come back. You lived in Toronto for a little bit, right? Did that? A lot of Newfoundlanders, for those that don't know, at some point have to go away. There's just, over the years, especially during my lifetime, during your lifetime, it's just a rite of passage almost for people to have to go and get some work at some point. Especially, I mean, we're in the arts industry, so it's almost a necessity. So, and a lot of us, if you're in the oil, whatever, gas, you go out to Alberta. If you're playing hockey, you follow that dream somewhere, another sport. If you're into the creative arts, you often go to Toronto. Now, I know you did that for a while. And are these songs a result of your longingness to be home? Or, were you, is it not, am I looking too deep there? Is it just, yeah, of course I like my home, and
No, I think you nailed it. I mean, you nailed it exactly. I mean, Terry, I think we are the luckiest people on planet Earth to be born and raised in Newfoundland. I mean, I think it is the most unique, funny, interesting spot ever. I mean, it, man. You've traveled all over the world. I've also traveled all over the world. I've brought friends here from all over the world, and every time they come, they're in shock almost. Like, they can't believe just, how this place works. I mean, it's so creative here. It's so uplifting, and it's so funny. I mean, Newfoundland is like easily the funniest place on planet Earth. I mean, you can get away with so much humor here that you couldn't get away with anywhere else. But, a lot of those songs, I mean, like Going Home, for example, you just said Going Home. I wrote that song. I wrote that song on a plane coming home from Edmonton, Alberta, on December 21st. Okay. I was coming home. Like you mentioned earlier, I have my Tibbs Eve show. I've been doing 17 years in a row now. I've been doing this.
That's how long? I was going to ask that at some point. Fuck it. That also seems like that seems like part of downtown St. John's. I don't remember not going to that, or
it's been the option. It's been a big part of my life, the Tibbs Eve show, and for anybody who's not listening, Tibbs Eve in Newfoundland is December 23rd. It's the day before Christmas starts, where you're supposed to go out and get drunk with your buddies before you spend a few days at your family. Is exactly what the terminology is, right?
It's a fucking great day, man.
It's the best day. Listen,
it's early. Of a
Tibbs
nice little
Eve,
brunch.
Tibbs Eve and Patty's Day in St. John's. I mean, I'm telling you, there's no two better days, I don't think,
No.
on calendar. I mean, there's the two funnest days on the calendar. But I was flying home. So my older brother and his family live out in Alberta, and I went out for a week before Christmas just to spend a few days with my nephews and kind of hang out. And I was thinking about getting home. Obviously, I was on a flight from Edmonton, I just a lot of my music I write on planes, which is hilarious. I mean, it's just a time when you have nothing else to do except for write.
That's what I do, by the way.
Yeah,
I will cut in here. I travel a lot. I'm going to Oakville on Thursday and Friday for another charity fundraiser. If you're from there, check into it. Follow my Instagram. I'll post the link. Hockey Helps the Homeless. And I do this, and do some writing. I hope to have a third book at some point. It's halfway done. But that's honestly, I find it. Not only do I do it out of necessity, I like it up there, and I don't opt for the internet. I like being cut off. And there's something, I don't know what it is. There's people around. Everybody's on their agenda. It's like my little office on their own agenda. I don't want to get the internet. I want to be cut off. I'm way up in the sky. I'm nowhere in particular. And for some reason, I fucking love that atmosphere to write in. I don't know why.
I think because you have nothing else to do. You have nowhere to be. You have to wait. Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. My favorite thing, man, put the headphones on, put on a nice album, and just start going. And I can write the whole time. I love it. It's one of the only times that I don't feel rushed, I guess, because I know I've got a 4 or 5 hour flight ahead of me. I mean, you've been on many planes back to St. John's. You're looking at a minimum 3 hours when you're getting on a plane and you're coming to St. John's, right? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So with that going home, I mean, I wrote that, and I mean, there's a few lines. I was so excited to get home because another thing is Christmas in Newfoundland is just another amplified experience. Everybody comes home for the holidays, people you haven't seen all year, and it's just such a fun and joyous time. Everyone's getting together, and there's a lot of parties on the go, and there's good food and good drink and lots of good music happening. And the World Juniors are happening. Everything is happening that is so much fun over that course. So I was really, really excited, and I also wanted to write a song that I could close out my shows with. I thought it was a good idea. So I close out shows almost 95% of the time with Going Home, because the end of it is it's simple. I'm going home.
Yeah.
I'm going home. I'm going home. Right. And you can get people singing that and get everybody into it. But it's to get back to your original question, it's always something that brings me back here. Same with Where I Belong. That's off the new record there. I mean, a lot of people have asked me kind of what about that song is about. And of course it's got its ties to Newfoundland, but I actually kind of wrote that one from the perspective of my grandfather, who's been passed away a number of years. And I remember him telling me stories about, he sailed a lot and he worked on the ocean, and he would have to leave Newfoundland to go for work, just like many Newfoundlanders. And he would, he would tell me, he would be sailing to Montreal, and he just couldn't wait to get back to his wife, my grandmother, and get back, to his family and get back to where he belongs. So that's kind of where that song kind of came from. And it's just another, kind of homage to Newfoundland. And I'll tell you another little cheeky thing I always try to do is on my records is I always try to fit in a song or two that will fit for Sunday morning radio in Newfoundland, because Sunday morning is they'll play a lot of local music. I mean, it's a huge part of the radio here in St. John's, especially on K-Rock and on Oz FM. They have the Jigs and Reels shows, and so I always try to write like a little bit more folkier Newfoundland song that they will take, because there's a bunch of songs on this that would never play on that radio show, but Where I Belong, right away I knew it. I said that's the one, and I sent it off, and boom, they play it every Sunday now. So it's always kind of worked out.
So would that be the first release? I don't know how that works anymore. Like every song is a release, but okay. So that was the first.
That was the first. Actually, no, Ducks in a Row was the first single. That was the second single. So I mean, I could get into this for days, and I won't bore you with it. But I think the way the music industry works these days is very different. You kind of need to release a bunch of singles leading up to your record release, because you're trying to build momentum and all that stuff. So I released the song Ducks in a Row, and then the second song was Where I Belong.
Interesting. So, and by the way, I know you are. When are you touring? I mean, you're always playing around here, but you're touring this album, right? You're start getting on the road a little bit.
Yeah, so I got I've been going to another thing that's been crazy in my life. I've been performing in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico for 13 years.
That's
I go down there.
yeah.
I go down there every winter, all winter long. I host a residency at a pub down there, and it's the unique thing about this gig is like being on tour every night because you're in a tourist town and every night is new faces, so you just don't have to leave. You just kind of like set up, and then you play for new faces all the time. So I'm heading back in February. I'm going to be down there till about mid-April. I'm back in St. John's for just a week or two, and then I'm currently booking a full cross country tour right now with the band, and we're going to take this thing right to Vancouver and back, and then kind of get it out on the road.
With the Dave Whitty band, correct?
Yep.
I forget what's the first band you were in. I forget that name.
At Ship's End. At Ship's End.
And they're still on the go. Yeah,
We've done a few gigs. It's funny. We still get calls these days, like, which has been great. Actually, it's been a fun part of my life because we get calls just to do these massive shows. So it's like you don't really got to put in a whole lot of work. Last year we played George Street Festival, opened up for the Dropkick Murphys, massive show, sold out.
That was deadly.
And last year we got a call to open up for Billy Talent at Iceberg Alley. So it's like, you get together with the boys, do a couple of rehearsals. You don't got to do a whole lot of back end work, and you just get up and play songs on big stages for a ton of people. It's literally the best feeling in the world.
That's awesome. The name Long Way to Go, is that in any way predicting your own future, or is that as a musician, as a person, or is it just, you know what, we all have a long way to go? It's life is long, and let's enjoy every minute.
It's I guess a bit of both those things. I actually stole the line from one of the songs. The song is called Ducks in a Row, but there's a line in that song that says, "We got a long way to go." I thought that was very fitting for a record, especially of mine. I mean, I kind of dabble in a whole bunch of different things. I mean, right now I've also been so involved in the film and TV world the last few years on top of my music career. But I think like long way to go means like, I just don't. I actually was talking to this. I actually did an interview for the Down Home yesterday, and I was chatting about this kind of thing as well. I just don't think that anybody in a creative world or in the arts industry will ever settle. I mean, I don't think anybody can ever settle. I mean, I mean, the biggest artist like you look up, I'm sure like Bruce Springsteen isn't like, okay, I'm good. He wants to continue doing big stuff. He wants, he's always looking to the future. I mean, just like myself. And I think anybody in the creative world you're always looking, okay, how can we keep pushing? How can we keep getting there? It's like, I've made a very good living for myself through the arts community. I mean, whether it's music, film, TV, all sorts of different things I've made a living at. I was the fucking mascot for the Fog Devils for a year as well, by the way.
God, yeah,
I have done literally anything in the entertainment industry to make a living. I have I have done everything. I've sold my soul to the devil to try to make a living. And you know what? It's worked out. I've made a living. I haven't worked a day job in 17 years. Last time I worked was 17 years ago at a restaurant. Other than that, I've made a living off my guitar, or I've made a living off of TV work I've done, or whatever it may be. But I just don't think that you can ever settle. No matter how far along you get, you can never, ever settle. And I will never settle. I'll never be content with where I am. You always want to be pushing yourself.
Yeah.
You always want to get to the next level. So that's where it came from. Just there's a long way to go.
There's the advantage of working on a film set. Now, Dave and I have worked on film sets, not always as in front of the camera. I'm talking about I was crew for a long time. You do some crew, but a lot of people have that mindset, right? I did have, I know last time now, I had a bunch of jobs to get me from point A to point B, and I didn't get that feeling. When I'm on a film set, I get the feeling like everybody's got something. Can you help me with my new short film? Hey, my buddy's writing an album. Hey, you know what? And every AD wants to be a director at some point. But there's so many wheels in motion, and and it's really hard work. People think it's a fucking joke. It's not, man. The film crew, it can be stressful. It can be, but you're all working towards a goal. It reminds me of hockey in a lot of ways. I mean, one is obviously more physical, but a whole team got to be going here. If not, like it's really going to be noticeable. And everybody, man, is working on something else. And it's just such a, even at the time, you be your 15th hour, man. It's raining out. We got to get these shots in. What the fuck? Move these tents. But, you know, you're looking at your buddy and you're talking about his new album release, or your girlfriend or girl, comma, friend, who might say, you know, yeah, I'm starting up a new salon, and you know, one of the girls in hair and makeup, or whatever. It's not all writing albums and stuff. Some of them want to be the best fucking hair, wardrobe, whatever they can do, and you know, they want to be getting fucking Oscars someday, or right. It's just not complacent. It's not static, and as much as some people might come and go because there's so many jobs on the go, right? It's not like you just enter a company and you work with the same people forever. Around here, that there is there is definitely an overlay of that, but you know, it's to me, it's a very inspiring job to have. People are, and hence I'm fucking proof of it. I became an actor. I mean, I never thought that would happen, but you keep meeting people and working and working and working and working, and eventually write something, and you know, it just kind of happens that way.
I mean, it's like you said, you know, people are always working towards something. One of the biggest things I found when I first took a job on a film set was that I didn't realize how many other musicians I knew who I've played with or I've worked with. I'm like, okay, there's like 7 musicians I've done a gig with in the last year, also doing some type of job on this film set, whether it's working sound or they're doing craft or they're doing locations or whatever. Everybody's grinding, trying to do something. I mean, and that was exactly what happened with me too. I mean, actually, to be honest with you, it was COVID. When COVID happened, I couldn't get on a stage. There was no gigs to be had, and there was a film set that was still working. So a buddy of mine called me. He said, a buddy of mine called me and he said, listen, man, I know you're not gigging right now. You can't tour. You probably need money. Any interest in coming on working on this film set? He said, I can't guarantee you a great job. He said, you're going to be a locations PA, and props to all the locations PAs, because that is a grind. You know, you're cleaning up after every
5 years.
Yeah, exactly. You know it. You know, you're cleaning up after people, and you're dealing with, you know, owners of different establishments. It's hard work, man. It's a grind, and it's the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the film set. Unfortunately, it just is what it is. And most people kind of get their start in the locations department, and you can kind of start to weave your way through it. And I mean, that's kind of exactly what happened with me. And it takes a bit of a personality, I'm sure, and it takes hard work and grit and determination. But it was one of those things that, you know, I did a couple movies as locations PA, and I said, you know, I went to the producer and I said, listen, while I feel like I'm good at this job and I'm helping you out, I'm more valuable to you in a different role. So I know a lot of people in this community. I can help you secure these locations, not only work them. So why don't you give me a new role? So I was taken on as the locations assistant manager. So then I started helping find these locations. After that, I said, you know what? I don't overly love this. And I just, once again, went to the producer and I said, listen, I have a very artistic background. I think I'd be more valuable to you in the arts department. That's where I would really excel. And she said, and we both know who we're talking about. And she said, well, why don't you be our production designer? I literally looked at her. I said, I don't know what that means. I said, I don't know what that means. And she said, you'll figure it out. So I literally went, I got a book. I read how to be a production designer. And then I went and did 3 movies back to back to back as production designer with a full art team underneath me. And once again, I've been very lucky that I got a random call, just like we do in this world. I got a random call last year from a friend of mine in Toronto who I bumped into one night on George Street over a few beers. And I was just kind of, you know, yakking the year off her, just shooting shit, talking how I had been working in the film industry a bit. And she said, and I guess she had remembered it. She called me and she said, hey, we're looking for a local producer for a TV show we're working on for the Discovery Channel. It's a reality-based show, not in the sense of like Big Brother reality. It's like we actually go out and film real people doing actual jobs. She said, we're looking for a local producer. She said, basically your job is to just be best kind. I said, you got it, not a problem.
That's how this happened. I knew you had that. I was going to ask about it. I was wondering how you got the gig.
So yeah, I came on as a local producer last year, and I was just, you know, basically in charge of kind of wrangling the crew, but also maintaining relationships with our characters and all sorts of different things. Anyways, through the jigs and the reels, they lost their director for season 3, which is what we're currently working on. And I got a call before we shot it, and they said, hey, we'd like to bring you on as our field director, so you'll be directing everything in the field whenever we are out there. So yeah, we're just almost finished season 3 of East Harbor Heroes. Airs on Discovery Canada, and yeah, I was lucky enough to I field directed the whole series. The whole season. I also narrate the show. I'm starting narration day 1 tomorrow, actually. And I also pitched to him some music of mine. So one of my songs, "Pirates" from my 2015 album, is actually the theme song of the show as well. So I've kind of got my hands all over
the theme song.
The theme song,
no way.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Oh
yeah,
man, that's just great.
Yeah, no, it's really cool, and it's been it's also kind of taught me about another crazy thing that it's done. It's really taught me about more of the business side of music when it comes to music placement. I mean, how to get music in film. Listen, that's how you start making some money as a songwriter, is getting other people to start singing your songs and record them, and B, getting your songs in film placement. If you can get some songs in film, well, then it's passive income. You're not doing anything. You're just making money by your songs being in these things, right?
What we all long for. That's why at someday, I mean, hopefully Shoresy or another show, but a lot of actors in my position are hoping to get, I think it's like that 65 show mark or whatever it is, because you start getting, I don't know how it works, but you start to get more residual pay.
Yep, exactly.
It's syndication or whatever. Again, that's a very lofty goal, but I'm saying it's a similar thing if you're acting to get, because then you start getting money that I don't want to say you don't work for. You've been working for it, but it's nice and comforting to have a check coming in that you can rely on for things that you've done way in the past.
It's like we said, Terry, listen, it all might be good, buddy, but there's a long way to go.
There's a long way to go. And on that note, let's do some rapid fire randoms. Are you ready?
I am so ready. Let's do this.
Here we go. Dave Whitty, rapid fire randoms. Because I know you're a big Overdrive fan, TSN Overdrive. I don't miss the show either. We're going to do a few confirm or denies as part of rapid fire randoms, okay? And then I got 9 or 10. I know I promised, I think, an hour, and we're at...
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Yes. So you're going to have... I could ask you a few doozies, but I won't.
Let's keep it to George Street. Yeah, let's keep it to George Street.
What I can say, what? Confirm what happened after midnight. No. Number 1, confirm or deny Marc-Andre Fleury will be on Team Canada. Third goalie at the Four Nations Cup.
Oh, that's tough.
I'm only saying it because all the goalies that I thought would be there are basically not playing. I think that Logan Thompson on Washington. I don't know why more people aren't talking about him.
Yeah, I'm going to deny it, although I think he should be the third string there. I think that would be, but I will deny it. I don't think he makes the cut. But
same answer I would have given.
I think he should be.
Yeah,
my personal feelings.
They have 3, right?
Yes, but just to be there, a support in the room and all that stuff. I think, and
support
if somebody was to go down,
years off Vezina. He won the Vezina only 2 or 3 years ago.
I know exactly.
I know he's really old for a goalie.
Yeah.
He's old for a hockey player. He's ancient for a goalie.
Yes,
but few games, you know what I mean? Like I'm like in that week.
I know.
There's guys that are like you're a Leafs fan.
Yeah.
I really do think if you put Tavares on the team, I think he'll just give you everything. I think he's playing great. I think he knows about it.
Listen, if you look at Johnny's season this year, I mean, he's had one of the best seasons he's had in the last 3 or 4 years to start it off here.
Why are people ever? I talk to Leafs
people think John Tavares, by the way, is 67 years old, right?
Well, I don't get it. And
people think that Tavares is the oldest man on planet Earth.
Every year that they sign him, I'm like, if you guys have a problem with the contract, that's 5, 6, 7 years ago. That we can
that's
talk
the nature.
about that.
That's the nature of business when it comes to signing 7, 8 year long deals. You're looking at the back end of that is going to be tough, right? It's just the nature of the business,
and it's just people looking for something. Because my thing is that, other than last year, where I guess you could kind of say he had a little bit of a slump halfway through, but he's had pretty reliable, consistent numbers, though. I'm looking at it going, some people, let's take another sport. You don't even know if Kawhi Leonard would play fucking 7. I'm going to extreme. Even in hockey, I don't know. Can you rely on, I don't know, it's a different position. Joseph Wall, I think he's a great goalie. I still can't really. I don't know. Like, is he going to be hurt the day of the game? I don't know.
Question for you, Terry. Question for you. Do you think because Tavares lost the seat that it gives him room to kind of breathe a bit more? Or do you think that there's maybe a chip on his shoulder? Or do you think that plays anything in his head at all? What do you think about that?
That's a great question.
I don't think he lost. Sorry, I don't want to say he lost the sea. I think that's dramatic, but it looked, the ship was sailing, kind of thing. But you think that's playing a mental thing in his head that he wants to prove something?
He wanted. I mean, who wouldn't want to keep the sea? I can see, and I love that he didn't put up a fight. It's another thing about your Leafs, by the way. What I do, no one said, like, in this day and age, most teams don't go 6 or 7 years with their core players and one of them not create a scandal or be greedy or be selfish in the media or be, or I don't know, get a DUI. I don't know, fucking fall off of, there's, again, great players in other sports that guns go off in their pocket. And there's things happening, and the Leafs, as much as they haven't really delivered in the playoffs, they're still there. They're still, most of them, in their primes. And I mean, if you want to say Tavares isn't, I know he's not, but he's playing as good as he did.
He's slowed down a little bit for sure, but he's still producing. And also,
he's still producing. Like, if you could have told me as a Leafs fan, I'm not that I am one, but I'd love to see them win. I'm more like, I'd love to see a Canadian team win. I get it that most players aren't Canadian, or on some teams that win and all this and the percentages. I just like to see it. And I know it's,
when you think of like I'd
love to see the Leafs win, but I would.
When you think of a hockey captain, like an overarching hockey captain, isn't like John Tavares like who you picture as a hockey captain? He's not outrageous in the media. He shows up, he works hard, he produces. I mean, he goes to bat for his players. Like,
I think sometimes he gets, maybe, what's the word? I think people take him for granted.
He's the scapegoat a lot of times. He's the scapegoat a lot of times.
John Tavares, but he's played, unless he's really injured, he plays. You got that contract. You got that contract 3 or 4 years ago in the playoffs. He got nailed. His head was out. A lot of people would have just said, "Fuck it, my career's over."
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to get the money anyway. But he doesn't. He really, really wants to be a Leaf. He really, really wants to excel. He wants to play his career. He wants to maximize his potential. And here's the other thing. The motherfucker doesn't fight. I know that. But I don't want to hear anybody tell me he's not tough. His goals are right in front of the net.
Exactly.
For some reason, he doesn't lose his mind. I can't identify with that. But he's going to the fucking front of the net. He's taking cross checks. Even the goal he got yesterday, most people wouldn't even throw it at the net. He's just like, he's always thinking, go get to the fucking cage. And
he grew up a Leafs fan as well. He's an Ontario kid. I mean, that's one of the benefits, I think, to being a Leafs fan that we have, is that there's so many players who are from Ontario who are happy to come home and put on the Leaf and put on the jersey, and play for their team. I mean, that you see that
like
classic
Kadri.
Like Nazem Kadri.
That was a bad trade.
I take him back in a heartbeat, man. He's grit. I mean, that's the kind of players you want.
He's exactly what they needed.
That's the kind of I know
he gets suspended here and there.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Wasn't it the next year, the year after he went?
Oh yeah.
He was in Colorado and he was like one of the best players in the world.
Exactly. Well, look at Zach Hyman is another prime example. You let Zach Hyman go when he puts in 55 goals last year or whatever it was. Phil Kessel goes on to win 2 cups. Yeah, exactly.
So funny. Funny. I guess some people would look at it as tragic, but anyway.
I can't imagine though. It's got to be insane. To play in Toronto. The media alone just got to be just exhausting, right? It's just got to be very tough.
I think and that's the other thing that I give these guys credit for. They none of them are demanding trade. They all want they might want a lot of money, but they want to stay there, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what Mitch Marner's going to get. He's got an agent that I think last time it probably would have been in his best interest to take a little bit less just because of the public pressure. But whatever, that's the way sports work. And I'm going, this guy wants to stay there. A lot of people would say, get me the fuck out of Dodge.
Yeah, put me in LA somewhere or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Why?
At least.
Yeah, go down on the beach. You can walk up and down the streets. You're probably not recognized by. Can you imagine? Think about Mitch Marner walking up and down, Queen West in Toronto. He's going to get stopped by every single fucking person.
He goes to San Jose. He has an easy life.
Yeah, exactly.
He lives
on the beach. You know what I mean?
He paid his money. Hey, maybe one of these days we'll pan out. Maybe we won't.
Or you go play in Florida, right? No state tax. No state tax. There's just so many.
There's something to that. I don't think it would be me. I couldn't speak till I had all those tens of millions of dollars. But I don't think it's outrageous. Like I wouldn't. I know teammates that you would do that, and I would be fine. Yeah, of course, man. You take care of you. We're in this. We don't know how many years we're going to be even healthy. We're going to be in this league. You could get 100 points, and then the next. Well, my high ankle sprain. I thought at least. I mean, at least I'd get more games. If not, I'd play in Europe. Or you just don't know what's coming. So I don't
exactly.
You want to play it out in Florida. But more power to you. Okay, Austin Matthews will get 45 goals this season at least.
I will confirm that. I think he is just going to, once he gets cooking again here, he's going to go on a heater. You know what he's capable of, Terry. Like, I mean, this guy is a fucking animal. I mean, if he gets on a quick heater here, I mean, no sweat for him to, put together 2 and 3 games where he's putting in 2 and 3 goals each. I mean, it just takes no time for him to really start racking them up. I'm not even, what's he at right now? He's probably not at
6. He scored his 6th yesterday. But
yeah. Okay. I mean, still a lot of hockey left. I think 45 is about the number. I wouldn't push it too far past that. And barring anything else that happens with him, I mean, this weird fucking injury that he has that he's over in Germany about. Nobody knows. That's obviously a huge part of it.
Once, I think 3 years ago, we found out it was a wrist, but it then was. We don't know. It's all this mystery. But yeah, and the thing is, he frequently gets a dozen shots in a night.
Oh, listen, I know all about it. That's my main gambling line is shots on goal, baby. I love the shots on goal. I love shots on goal parlays, by the way. It's my favorite type of parlay. Over four Matthews is almost an honest given every single fucking night.
I know.
Every single night.
It'll be like Toronto versus Chicago at home.
Yeah.
Matthews, 3.5. I'm like, what the fuck? It's the easiest layup there is.
And he puts up 8,
He put up 15 earlier. That's why I said, remember early on, people say he was snake bit. Oh, he's not. Who knows how this year will go? I think it's the law of averages. Eventually.
It is. Yeah.
Eventually, it just has to happen. You don't just get 15 shots.
He looked good last night, too. He got one right off the bat there, too. I mean, that's a big thing. You come back from that injury, you kind of get the monkey off your back there again, and you don't got to be thinking about it too much. And, they got a pretty busy schedule here leading into Christmas. So I think, if he can get that number up to, 18, 19, 17, 18, something like that, before the new year. I mean, yeah, I think he's got that in the bag. No sweat.
Yeah, he's just a great player to watch too. That's the one thing. The fucking Leafs, as much as you guys like true blue fans, I know how you're let down and everything, but I think it's a pretty entertaining team to watch.
Man, and I think this year has even changed it a bit more. I mean, one thing I've loved about this season is they're playing Craig Berube hockey. They're a lot tougher, a lot grittier. I mean, and I like they got Matthews and Marner on the kill as well, which has been unique. I watched Marner last night. I'm telling you,
what a penalty killer, man.
Man, he is fucking nuts on the penalty kill.
People say good stick,
yeah,
but he's always fucking.
His edges are insane too, man. Like he's like a figure skater out there, man. He's like dipsy doodle, especially defensively. I mean, he's got eyes in the back of his head. I think that's a huge asset to their kill now for sure.
Really is. Confirm or deny. Connor Bedard will win at least one Hart Trophy or one Art Ross Trophy in his career. Now,
that's hard.
I'm not down on this guy. I don't know. There's all kinds of great players that didn't. I don't think Joe Sakic or Steve Yzerman did. I don't really know, but I think they would be considered literally in the best players of all time. And I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but they didn't win a lot if they did. Now, Connor Bedard, I'm not saying he's not going to be a superstar or anything else, but someone asked me that, and I said, that's a good question. Hart Trophy's the MVP of the league.
Mm-hmm.
He's only 19, so we can't really judge him on this, but when McDavid was 19, I think you would have guaranteed it. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I love him as a Canadian. He is only 19. He's in a shit team. He's leading them in scoring. He's not ripping it up, but he's leading them. Will he win an Art Ross or a Hart?
I think I got to confirm it. I just think that eventually that team is going to have to turn around. I mean, they're fucking garbage right now.
What's he going to be like with good players around him?
Exactly. That's the thing, man. He's like, you notice him. I mean, like you say, I watched him last night. I mean, you notice him when he's on the ice and he's playing with, he doesn't have a very good team around him, man. I mean, they are a tough team to watch right now. But I mean, it was kind of like McDavid, though. I mean, those years when McDavid was drafted, I mean, think about how many first round picks they had over those like 7-8 years there or whatever it was. I mean, they were just starting to fill up their team.
Did, right? And the Leafs did. Matthews came in, and I think they made the playoffs the very next year. Like,
yeah,
I mean, those guys came in with them. Think of Pittsburgh.
I should know this as a Leafs fan, but I didn't. I actually heard it on Overdrive. Matthews has never missed the playoffs. They've made the playoffs every year since he's been drafted.
What? Yeah, and what's weird is that he went first overall.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He went first overall. So usually you would be in the basement for years after that.
Like Chicago right now.
but Chicago, unlike, Chicago back when Kane, Taves, oh God, Duncan Keith was there with the right-hand shot defenseman. Anyway, a bunch of them came in together.
Yep.
And they were not immediately, but within a few years they were cup contenders, and then they won. Pittsburgh was the same thing. Crosby went first overall, but all of a sudden you get Malkin and Letang, who are still there. We're talking about decades plus ago. And for a lot.
What do you think? Do you think Bedard will win one of those? It's tough, man. It's tough.
Someone gave me. I think he's good enough. It's hard to just say that. It's one player, the Art Ross. So for a number of these years, McDavid's still going to be in the league, even though he's a lot older.
Yeah, that's the other side of it too. You're not wrong. That's what else you got to think about is his competition. Not only is how good he can be on the team he's on, but who he's also up against, right?
Right. So if
if like for example, if Toronto go on a run, I mean, if they, God, please, if they do, but that's going to weigh in on. You got to think about, like, even just on the Leafs, you're looking at like Nylander, Tavares, Marner, Matt. Any of these guys, if they go on a run, have a big season, they're up for that potential, right? If they have a big season plus go on a run, that's just one fucking team,
Matthews, man. Yeah, got the heart. Say we
exactly.
He won a Hart Trophy.
Yep.
And like I said, with that early iteration of Chicago, with Pittsburgh, with the Leafs, Nylander was there, Riley for most of it. I think he's a bit older, Marner, but I don't see that with Bedard.
I know.
I don't see anybody around him.
He's also different he's not a big guy.
Next year and the year after,
he's not a big guy though, Terry, is he? He's smaller than, like, Matthews is thick. McDavid is a bigger guy. Like Leon Draisaitl, he's a fucking beast. Bedard still seems like he's like, I don't know if he's still got.
I met him last year. We went down with with Shoresy. I read the fucking starting lineup in the room. I couldn't believe it. Nice. And I went over next to Bedard, and the boys all looked at me. And, where you going? I said, "Well, sorry guys, I feel much more comfortable around fellow first round picks." So I in the room right before they went onto the ice immediately.
Oh my God.
So I read the lineup, and he came out after. He's a real gracious guy, real nice guy. And he congratulated me on the Growlers game. I said, "How the fuck do you know about that?" And he just shows he's a real hockey guy. But he had Popeye arms on him. I could see his wrists were like way bigger. I was like, okay, that's why he shoots it like that. But again, you can only be so big. You don't want him to fill out much more.
No,
that's why there's similarities with Marner. I don't think it, but I just mean with the way he shoots.
Yeah,
he's a little bit smaller.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
There are similarities, and so Marner, with all that talent around him, right from day one, even they weren't ripping it off the bat, but like right from day one, they were pretty good.
Yep.
And like you said, Matthews never missed the playoffs, and I gotta wonder if he had guys like that around him. Now again, I don't want to we went down there, man. Nick Foligno went out to dinner with us, and I think he's doing his job. He's doing as good as he can. He's down there. He's leading that team.
Taylor Hall, watched Taylor Hall last night. Still looks good.
Totally, right?
Still looks good.
I'd like to see them with Bedard with a. Yeah, he does. But those guys were brought in, but I'd like to see some even support for them. I'd like to see like some stud come in on D and forward, and give them someone real good to play with. Let's see what's going to happen,
Yep.
Okay, confirm or deny. St. John's, Newfoundland will have a pro or a junior team to play out of Mary Brown Center by the 2027 season.
I will confirm that. I think that's almost, I can't say guaranteed, but it just, St. John's is a hockey town, man. You know what it's like here. This place needs, although it's been tough. I mean, I feel like the
We lost
more
the
that
Growlers, but before you go any further, people don't realize that wasn't all to do with. We had lots of fans. I think they were 7th in the league or something. There was all internal things going on.
I don't think
City
it's
was
anything to
charging them.
do with fans showing up.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
wasn't. So people, I try to say that. People are like, "Oh, you lost your team," and people don't support it. I'm like, no, we fucking. And of all the teams ever, that was the most supported. We had always 3 or 4 Newfoundlanders on the team, and for good reason. It's the East Coast. It's perfect, right? It gave, and it's so many of the guys who weren't from here, like Todd Skirving, were part of the community. And
he
out
still
there,
is. Skirv is still he's like an honorary Newfoundlander at this point, man. I bump into him at the embassy, and I'm like, "What do you have, Skirv?"
And they all embraced it. They embraced it.
I mean, another part with the Growlers too is how much they connected with the community. I mean, I don't think a lot of people probably realize this, but the Growlers, they had a live band, and it just kind of comes back to me as a musician. They would have a live band almost every single game played or intermission. I played it. They actually reached out to me, and another thing when it goes back to music and business, one of my songs was actually the power play song for the Growlers. They reached out to me and bought it off me essentially. And every time the Growlers would go on a power play, my song would play. It was a song I wrote, and I actually wrote it to be a hockey anthem. It kind of worked out hand in hand, actually. But yeah, there's a lot of support here for hockey. I mean, and to kind of get back on your question, I just don't ever think that there will ever not be the support that's there. Sorry, the song was "So I'll Go" is the name of the song. So I'll go and I'll go and I'll go and I'll go, go and I'll go down the mo. That's another song I wrote. Yeah,
I knew that, and I went to most games that I was here, and I just didn't realize it was power plays. I heard it down there, but I power play. I'm just there eating popcorn, whatever. But okay, that makes total sense. That's a good tune too.
Yep.
Jesus, do you play that a lot live?
I do. Yeah, it's a real fun one. I actually wrote that, no joke. I was like, man, this would be good in a stadium. I'm like, I need to figure out how I can get this song to
and it really resonated with the home crowd and everything.
Yep. So I made a few posts online, and somebody actually reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'd like to hear that. And can you send me over a copy, and I'll run it through." And they did. And I mean, within like 24 hours, they were like, "Yeah, we'd like to buy this off you, and we'd like to use it for our anthem and for our power play kind of song every time we go on." So yeah, it was pretty neat, actually.
Stole this from Overdrive. This is the one I stole. St. John's, confirm or deny, Marty St. Louis is going to be coaching the Habs in October 2025.
Yeah, I think I'm going to confirm it. I think I'm going to confirm it again.
How bad do they have to do? They knew they weren't making the playoffs.
That's the thing, and they know they're going to be bad.
They'd have to lose 40 in a row, I think, for him to get fired.
Right? I know, man, but the Habs they're banged up still, man. They're still young. I mean, there's still room to grow there. I think Marty might be the guy. I love Marty St. Louis.
Cole Caulfield from the abyss of the minors. Remember, he had 3 goals at Christmas. He wasn't doing anything after a decent playoff the year before out of nowhere. And then fucking under Martin St. Louis. And to me, that's the biggest thing. If I was looking at them, I'd go, okay, how does he work with these young players here?
Exactly.
Right? Because, I guess you don't have to go far. Ask Alex Newhook. But, and it seems to me the young players who are going to be huge in that team for the coming years, they seem to like him. So,
I'm sure you can probably speak on this much more than I can, but it really seems like, the age-old kind of older generation of coaching has changed so much. I mean, it's like, I mean, these guys they're younger guys. They were raised, a little differently than even you and I were. I mean, I think they got to be treated a little bit more softly, I guess, maybe what it is. And I think St. Louis brings that, he's that, I think he's that kind of, he's spoken enough that he really, I think gets these guys on their level, I think is what it is, right? I mean, yeah, I will confirm that. I think he's the guy for the job there. I mean, I think you got to give him at least an opportunity with a team that can give it a shot and not just be the
I'll-
bottom of the barrel, right?
I'll tell you this, man. I've often said, because when I was in Montreal and Fredericton, when I was down in Freddie, it was Michel Therrien, and he ended up coming up. And people know I don't like him, and a lot of history there. But the coach up was Alain Vigneault. A lot of people think he's a cocky bastard. Now, to me, I'm like, at least he was nice to me and he respected me. And when he called me in, he didn't threaten me. He didn't, like, Therrien called me in my first meeting. He just had a smoke, and no one said a word. He finished it off and told me to get the fuck out of his office. It was always mind games with
That's fucking
Alain
crazy,
Vigneault.
man.
It was crazy. It was all crazy. There was so many things like that. With Vigneault, he really tried to work with you, and he was honest. He told me, like, you got to get a lot better skating, kid, if you want to play in this. Sure, would send me where I'll work on.
Perfect.
Right?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Sweden and work with Nick Lidstrom. No joke. And I just really appreciated that he treated me with respect. And when I was on the ice for that reason, I wasn't squeezing my stick. I was like, Alan told me I'm going to make mistakes and everything. With Therrien, it was like, even in practice, if you miss the next fucking 2 passes, you're benched. Like, shit like that would happen with guys going, what? We're doing one-on-ones in practice, man. Get the fuck out of my head. What are you getting out? Yeah, you go to that net. You're sitting out next game, and you're like, Jesus, Mike, it's 10 in the morning on Tuesday in November. Relax, for fuck's sake.
And also, you're a fucking kid. You're really at the time.
And a kid that worked hard.
Yeah.
Well, what the fuck do you want? You that's my MO, you fucking ignorant bastard. You don't have to tell me that. Right? With Vigneault, it was like, I know you're going to work hard. You just got to get better at skating.
Right. And I'm sure you were going, all right, Wicked, I'm happy to know that. I can get working on that. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Right.
Exactly. Okay. Last one. Confirm or deny. Anthony Stolarz is going to be the number 1 goalie going into the playoffs.
I think so, man. He has been fucking lights. He has been fucking lights out. And like we talked about earlier, Joey Wall, man, what do we know about him yet?
All I know is that he's
prone to injury,
injured, and not only that, like the times. It's one thing to see a guy go down.
Don't remind me, please. Do not remind me.
Game skate that morning. I had him in my fantasy pool. I got him in the net because he's fucking listed as playing that night, and I don't know if he's.
And when we needed him, when we fucking needed him, man.
He's not playing. Can you imagine walking into the rink as you're the last line of defense for the team and going, I just can't go tonight, boys? Like, it would have to be some injury. I don't know. Did you drop a fucking furnace on your foot? Like, what? What have you done? I don't know. Like,
and like, another thing about that is not only that you can't go, but how much of a wrench did he throw in the team that day? That, they was built around, and then you got guys thinking, oh, well, fuck, now you got to switch up your mindset, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're just, I don't know, man.
It doesn't happen.
I would have to have my fucking arm ripped off me to not be able to suit up for that game. I mean, it just goes to show. But I got to say, man, Stolarz, he has been, I said this, man, when they got him this year. I said, man, this guy, he's good. He's big. He's a monster of a man too. But I think that when they got him, I said, man, he's going to be a great signing for them. He's cheap. They got him for barely anything. Yeah. And he has been really confident in that. What I've seen out of Joe Wall too, I'll be honest with you. I mean, when he's in the net, he's confident. He's composed. I mean, he's not, dramatic by any means, but you just can't put faith in him because the man is always injured, man. He's always fucking injured.
What they did with Stolarz, I could see why 2 years ago they did it with Samsonov. I could see their thinking, and it didn't work out exactly like they wanted. But Samsonov was a guy like that. You got to get someone there for cheap. If you're chasing the cap, and there's guys out there, and with goalies are so unpredictable anyway. There's only 5 or 6 that you're really going to go out and pay huge. After that, okay, who can we get that's in a decent position? And I think they did I would have tried for Samsonov too. It didn't work out, and we could see that happen. But with Stolarz, it was the same sort of thing. But I love that he's big. And I love that he's confident without being cocky.
You're also
And
looking for
he
somebody
seems
who
to be a
wants
good teammate.
to be given an
Yeah.
opportunity, right?
He wants to fucking play.
He was back up last year. He played. Obviously, they won a cup, played a few games, but you're behind Bobrovsky there. I mean, you're behind a beast of a goaltender there. You want an opportunity to be that number one guy, and what a better place to do it than to come in Toronto and do it, man. When everything's riding on it, you come in, play with some confidence. You're like you say, you're a big body. You're making those big saves when you need them. I mean, listen, the thing about the Leafs are always going to score goals. It's very rare to get shut out. They're going to put in 2 or 3 goals a game, man. Like, you're okay to let in a goal or two. It just can't be these 4 and 5 goals where you let in. That every goalie's going to have those days. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, if you can keep the damage to 1 or 2 goals, you're probably looking at a win, man. You're probably looking at a win.
2 games ago, it wasn't really his fault. Was it the loss? Forget they lost 4-5-1. Was it Tampa or Florida or something?
Yeah.
But
Florida.
anyway, Florida. But he picked himself up, shook off the dust, and then came out last night with a fucking deadly performance. So,
some big saves too, man, right? At key moments. I mean, that's not a game you want to lose last night against the Blackhawks by any means. You want to, so you make a couple big saves, and that's what keeps the momentum in the game. Right after that, Solars made 2 big saves. What happens about a minute and a half after that? John Tavares comes down and puts one in the top corner, and it's pretty much game over.
Right after that.
Oh yeah, beauty too.
If you had one superpower, what would it be?
If I had a superpower, what would it be? Speed travel. Get me anywhere fast.
Speed travel. Good answer, and a rare answer.
I want to just be able to get where I can fast. Not in a sense of my career or life. I just want to be able to if I want to get down south, get me there now. Today.
Right there. Beam me up, Scotty. Death row meal.
Oh man, burgers! I'm the biggest burger junkie on planet Earth.
So you must love that. What is it? January or February or March? Is it? What's?
Oh yeah, the burger challenge here.
Oh my! I think they might have it a different month, but it's always happens in the.
Listen,
spring.
Me and the boys from Mount Pearl, we make our rounds. We usually go out twice a week. We make a point of this. On not.
We should do that. I do too. I do it on my own though.
It's the best. I actually had been thinking about doing like a web series based on that. I wanted to go out and test all the things and do a little reviews, and I don't think anybody's ever done that. I want to hit them all and do like my own little personal review, rating card, and all that kind of stuff. But there's some great burgers around it, and it's a cool incentive that they do in St. John's. It's to get people out, get people into the restaurants, and spend a few bucks.
That is.
It would be burgers.
They have we have the best burger in St. John's, right? So okay.
When is it? I think it's
and they're different. Like, if you're Greensleeves or Merchant Tavern or Adelaide or wherever you are, you'll put a different one on every year. I know what you're saying. Well, it's not like, is the Big Mac better than the Whopper? This is like, all kinds of.
What I liked last year, Terry, is what the one thing that they changed that they'd done in previous years is they set a value on them. You're only allowed to make it so much, because some places, some of the bigger restaurants, that, there'd be like a $45 burger and they'd have like fucking gold truffle oil. Yeah, exactly. Right. But, they said, okay, it's got to be $28 with fries or whatever. And, it's so, people can't go too outrageous with it. But yeah, it would be burgers for me, man. I live and die burgers. I'm a burger boy.
Favorite sports jersey ever? It doesn't have to be hockey, but it can be.
Oh, man. Let me see if I can get it for you here. I got it right here. I'm going to show you. Okay. And I don't know if you're going to appreciate this as much as anybody, but
no, I think I will. Actually, I don't know what you're going to show me. So,
okay, I've got one here. I'll show you, and I got another that I got putting away. But here's a hilarious jersey I have here. Okay.
Yeah, it's a Lakers jersey.
Vladdy Divac, number 12.
Real jersey?
No, it's not. Sean Courtney brought me home this one time. So my brother and the boys.
No,
it's not. That's not. Sorry, I'm trying to get in this.
On the back? Let me see. Turn it around. Okay, I got you. That is a nice nugget, though. It's a good jersey.
Listen, not many people have this jersey. You wear this one out once a year, and it just gets rave reviews. It's once in a year kind of jersey.
Lots of people have Lakers. Not many people have Divac 12.
No, exactly. And my other prized possession is Fox Fagan's signed Toronto Maple Leafs Bobby Bond jersey, which
Bobby fucking Bond,
man.
legendary Davy Crockett status in Leapsland.
I mean, he broke his fucking ankle or his leg and came back out and scored in overtime
Check
to push
that out,
them to
people,
game
if you don't
6
know.
in 66, I think it was, or
It
67.
happened so long ago, people take it for granted and don't give it any credit.
Can you imagine coming back out with a fucking broken leg?
Your film skills have taken you over. You guys are doing a documentary and you get stuck. You get stuck in a cave in Tanzania for a week, right? Sorry, you got one album and one book. Which album would you want with you, assuming you had a stereo in this cave? And which book, assuming you had a light in this cave?
I'm gonna kind of cheat a little bit because it's a greatest hits album, but it would probably have to be Tragically Hip, Your Favorites. I mean, the whole album front to back is literally all the best Canadian rock songs, in my opinion, of all time. And book, it would probably have to be, I'll tell you, it's sorry, I just got to think of it real quickly.
All right.
It's what the fuck is his name? I've read it so many times, it's just slipping my mind here. Let me see here.
Chuck Klosterman?
No. Why do I always forget this?
George Orwell?
No, it's a local book called High. Did you ever hear about this?
No.
It's
how do I not?
What's his name? What's his? why is this fucking slipping my brain, man? Anyways,
wait. Are you talking about Joel Hines?
No. It's you remember the show Creepy Canada?
Yeah.
He was the host of that. It's just slipping my mind right now. It will come to me. But he wrote a book called High, and it's all about his rise. He went to jail. Okay, this guy went to jail for selling weed is what it was. But it starts downtown St. John's, and he's like selling like dime pieces of weed, and eventually he gets to like international smuggling. But it goes chapter for chapter where he spends a year in jail, and then the next chapter is his first year on the streets. But a fun fact, actually, I have the sweater on here.
Okay, it wasn't though. It's more like my age. It's not Gary Sexton or someone like that.
No.
Okay.
His family in the book had they owned the first brewery in Newfoundland, which turns out to be the Molson Brewery, and they had a Newfoundland dog named India, and that, my friend,
that's where India beers came from.
Beers came from, and that's why there's a Newfoundland dog on it.
Wow, interesting.
The more you know.
You never cease to amaze me with these. There you go, one of those little timeout minutes or whatever it is. Those Canadian Heritage minutes. You could maybe you and I could do some Newfoundland Heritage minutes.
There you go.
Actually, that's probably not a bad idea as I spit it out here. Your favorite Maple Leaf ever?
Darcy Tucker.
Great fucking answer. Who's my roommate?
Without a doubt, I grew up idolizing Darcy Tucker. I mean,
he's so over the top with his hard work and everything. You think it's fake,
man,
until you meet him.
Listen, it's like you know, it's like Ryan Smith of the Oilers. I mean, just these guys who just bleed.
They get it
passion.
done. Man.
They bleed passion. They will do anything to win. And I mean, that was when I first fell in love with the Leafs. I mean, you're looking at Darcy Tucker, Gary Roberts. I mean, all these guys who were just, dogs of the Leafs. So I was a huge Darcy Tucker fan. I've after meeting him a bunch of times throughout different events, and awesome guy.
You have a pal who has never ever seen a movie, and especially a comedy. Name me 3 comedies because I always find it hard to be the funniest movie. I mean, I don't know. That's always probably going to change. But give me 3 solid comedies that you'd say these will make you laugh.
I'll be honest with you. I'm not a huge movie guy. I don't watch a whole lot of movies.
But in your whole life, you must have seen.
I mean, I've always been a huge Sandler fan. I mean, I love like Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore. Those are like staples. They are staples. I mean,
have you ever? Now, I only ask because my daughter and I tried to. She asked me like maybe 6 months ago, so I'm trying to take her through. And so far, I tried to in my mind go through what's some of the funniest movies I've ever seen, and what I've landed on for myself are Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Meet the Parents and What About Bob. But I don't know. I don't know if you've seen those, but they just seem to be there's never 3 minutes without laughter. Now,
Yep.
or
No, for
Super
sure.
Bad would be up there.
I was gonna say Super Bad would have to be up there. I mean,
It'd
that's
have to be, right?
absolutely. And I mean, like, I'm also like, I mean, like fucking like Dumb and Dumber and shit. Like, I mean, those
We
old
just watched
movies,
those two. Yeah,
those
they're
old
fun.
movies, man, they get me in the absolute knots just because they are so dumb and funny, man.
I went. I don't golf ever much, but I don't golf ever. I don't golf much, but I went to Sun Valley, Idaho twice in the last year. And one was like a golf fundraiser, and the other one was like a hockey thing. And Bobby Farrelly was out there, of the Farrelly brothers. And we went I went through golfing with him. I had dinner with him and everything. And he was telling me some of his stories. And specifically, my favorite two by him or three, I guess, Kingpin. There's something about Mary and Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, there's something about
Anyway,
Mary is so good too. I haven't seen that in forever.
I watched it with Penny Lane now. She's old now. She's 14. She gets it, but there's it's a little too sexual to watch with your 10-year-old.
Right.
She gets it now. I'm like, there's not much that a 14-year-old in this world won't have seen, and those are just fucking hilarious movies. You could take a time machine anywhere. You got one day. You're not going to affect. It's not like if you run into your grandmother, you won't be born. None of that butterfly effect. This is just, okay, one day I have a time machine. Nobody else knows about it. Where do you want to go? And it might even be in the future. Anytime, any place.
Like just for a day trip, you mean? Like you're just going for a day? Honestly, it would be a place called Sayulita in Mexico. It's a little tiny kind of fishing community that's just outside of the town I play in Puerto Vallarta. I've been, like I mentioned, I've been going there for probably 13 years. And whenever I have 2 consecutive days off, I hop on a bus and I put my headphones on and I go and I rent a little tiny hut out here, and it's just on this little beach town, and it's a bunch of hippies, and it's chill, and the vibes are high, and everyone is high. And
so when would you go there? It's a time machine. So would you go there like next year? Would you go there 50 years ago? When would you go there? Or would you go there right now? You don't have to.
Yeah,
the time machine also can take you to any place on Earth really quick. It's a speed traveler too, obviously. You wouldn't have to, like, if it's a time machine and you're going to Wild West, you're not going to land in Belfast,
right, yeah.
Northern Ireland. Yeah. You're it's assumed.
Yeah, I'm not looking at like Germany in the 40s or something like that.
Yeah,
I think,
wherever you get taken here, it's going to be to the place. So you could go there. What's it called? La Sayulita?
Sayulita, yeah.
Sayulita. Somewhere I think I'd want to go. Okay, last.
You would enjoy it, yeah. 5
players and a goalie. We're playing in this hypothetical world. I pick 5 players and a goalie. You pick 5 players and a goalie. They could be any of players from all time. They just assume they're in their primes, and you can't pick Gretzky, Lemieux, Howe, or any Montreal Canadiens. Who would you put on the team to beat me? Say there's $1 million on the table. One of us gets it if we win.
Oh, Jesus. Any player from previous, from past, or not active. Anyone that's not active, or doesn't matter.
Anyone. They're all 28 years old. You could pick Connor McDavid with Eric Lindros on the wing if you want.
I mean, Connor McDavid. I'm going to take Dougie Gilmore. I think Patty Waz, my goalie.
And he won a cup with the Canadiens.
Okay. All right. Dominic Hasek.
Okay, nice.
I mean, you're not going to beat the Dominator, are you? I think you got to take a guy like Ray Bourque would be a good defenseman there.
There you go. 2 more, forward and a D.
Let's go. That's a tough question, Terry. I'm thinking.
And you can put a center at wing. It doesn't really matter. It's just
yeah.
As will probably happen at the Four Nations Cup anyway. That always happens.
Yeah, exactly. Let's say Peter Forsberg is definitely there. I love Peter Forsberg.
Yeah, great fucking player. So tough too, without dropping his gloves. Jesus Christ, that guy.
Let's see.
You only got 1 D left. Can't pick Doug Harvey or Larry Robinson because they're on the Habs. Can't pick Bobby Orr. Chris Pronger.
You know what? I'd take Cale Makar right now. He's fucking insane. Cale Makar.
Yeah, I don't think you could go wrong with Cale Makar. And
No.
he's not drop his gloves tough per se, but honestly,
Man,
he's way
he has
tougher than
got
people
some
think.
hands, man. This guy
He
is
does, but and he's hard to beat
crazy.
down the corners. Like he's also good defensively. A lot of people never say that.
Yeah.
There's D that drop their gloves that you know that they're tough. But honestly, watch him in the corners like he's tough, and in front of the net, you know, he knows how to get away with things. Like I'll put it this way: he doesn't make it easy on the other team.
Also, I think if you gave me like an hour with that, my list might be different. But just off the cuff, I think that's what I'm kind of just.
Well, we'll save that for next time, Dave Whitty. Is there anything, and you will be on again, is there anything you'd like to promote right here? Dave Whitty, long way to go. The album is out now. You'll be touring. When are you touring again?
Spring 2025. Keep an eye. You can follow me on all of my social media, of course, at Dave Whitty, basically anywhere. On my website, obviously, www.davewhitty.com. Also got a big Tibbs Eve show coming up, 17th year in a row. Got Nick Earl, Dan George, Andrew Rogers, Jacob Earl, Chad Murphy, Len O'Neill, Mallory Johnson. Got a huge cast of great local musicians coming down to join me throughout the night. So if you're in St. John's, come and find us at the Rock House December 23rd. And listen to my new record, Long Way to Go.
It's great. And you're a great guest. Thank you. And I will be there at the Tibbs Eve show. Thank you, Dave Whitty. Folks, if you're downtown St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, and you want to go out, you want to have a good time, maybe you want to have a drink, maybe you don't, but I would go to George Street either way, and I would check out Trinity Pub, Rob Roy Confusion, Greensleeves, the Martini Bar, of course, the Bull and Barrel. I would also, if I needed a bite to eat, you know what? I'd try out the Loose Tie, Blue on Water, and if I was on Elizabeth Avenue or in the East End, I'd go to Wedgwood Cafe, who also do catering. Ryan Power, Power Conditioning, strength and balance for the body and mind on Rope Walk Lane. Look no further. This guy is awesome. He's training my daughter right now and her team. He trained me in the past, and he's a barrel of laughs and a barrel of positivity. Check it out. Ryan Power, Power Conditioning, strength and balance for the body and mind. If you want to go to Mr. Lube, there's 2 locations here in Newfoundland and Labrador. One's on Torbay Road, one's on Cameron Road. Live, laugh, lube. Pitbull Pain Relief, the pain sticks that just don't quit. Go to pitbullpainrelief.com, see what all the fuss is about. True Hockey, take what's yours. And of course, I love my comfortable Muggsy jeans. I'll be back in just a few days with more Tales with Tierra. Thank you to Dave Whitty. Thank you to you guys. I'll catch you guys on the rebound. See you soon, Oakville, Ontario.